Zealanders returning home from or travelling via China will be expected to stay out of public areas and monitor their health as officials grapple with the spread of the coronavirus. It comes as the death toll has now grown to more than 400, with more than 17,000 infected worldwide. Foreigners are no longer allowed across the border, but New Zealand citizens or permanent residents will be allowed through the gates. They'll have to spend 2 weeks in isolation in their own home, and the Ministry of Health says it won't be actively monitoring them. Ben Strang reports.
Almost 15,000 people worldwide have confirmed cases of the Wuhan coronavirus, but it hasn't come to New Zealand just yet. Ministry of Health officials say it's only a matter of time before a case is confirmed here, but they're doing all they can to stop that from happening. The Ministry's Director General of Health, Dr. Ashley Bloomfield, says foreigners who have been in China during the past 2 weeks will now be denied entry to the country. But Kiwis who are in the same situation will be sent home for 2 weeks, and health officials won't be checking up on them.
What will happen is that those New Zealanders coming off those flights who are allowed through the border, they've travelled either directly from China or have been in China, will be spoken to by health officials and given information about how they should self-isolate. So very clear information about what self-isolation means. So all New Zealanders coming in through the border will be expected to self-isolate and be given information about how to do that. That won't be actively monitored, but our experiences in these situations, and given there's a high level of public awareness, that people will be self-monitoring in this instance, and they will have clear understanding of what just is expected of them.
The only people who will be under active observation are the people being evacuated from Wuhan itself. The Prime Minister, Jacinda Ardern, says the numbers of people on the special Air New Zealand flight are now being finalised.
Roughly around between 70 and 80 from memory from within New Zealand. We of course are using the additional capacity to support Australians' return home.
They will be sent to a military base north of Auckland for 2 weeks before being allowed home. Dr. Bloomfield says the passengers on the evacuated flight won't be separated from each other, but there will be special rules in place to ensure the potential spread of the virus is limited.
They will just be seated in the normal economy class seats and will be issued with masks and given very clear instructions about how to use the masks and also about how they should move around the plane to reduce the likelihood of any possible infection spread. I should say also, just reiterating the point that people will be assessed before they hop on the flight, and if there's any question they are symptomatic, then they won't be boarding the flight.
Customs has ramped up its efforts at the border as a result of the government's travel ban. E-gates have been closed so that customs officials can manually look through the passports of anyone entering the country. And the General Manager of Border Operations, Terry Brown, says customs is doing its best to limit long lines.
We've rostered on extra staff at airports where possible. We've opened more primary processing booths to offset the absence of the e-gates. And we're working closely with other border sector agencies to implement the new entry criteria and also getting assistance from the airport companies with managing the passenger flows.
Mr Brown says customs is also looking after its own staff.
We've adopted the standard 1 metre social distancing. We provide sanitary hand sanitisers, gloves, and also equip them with masks as required.
The Chinese embassy has expressed its disappointment at the travel ban, and Jacinda Ardern was asked if it may have caused ill sentiment towards New Zealand from China.
No, what I would reiterate is this we see as being short-term and of course temporary. We'll be reviewing every 48 hours, and I do want to acknowledge again, I think the role that the Chinese government has played in trying to contain transmission has been incredible, and what we're trying to do is just continue to support that containment.
The Ministry of Health is updating its advice on how to deal with the virus daily, with that information available on its website. For Checkpoint, Ben Strang.